So Donald Trump has paused his proposed tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada until next month. Some still expect the tariffs to be implemented and not completely scrapped. The current rates are 25% on Canada and Mexico still, and the 10% on China. China earlier this week, as of recording, implemented retaliatory tariffs on some select U.S. imports uh, to be in effect soon. However, let's take a look at some of the uh, pro- ooh. However, we'll take a look at an older article, kind of looking at the economic impacts that these tariffs will have on the economy if. So here we have an article from the Tax Foundation. Um, this is an older article, I believe, before the election or shortly after, discussing some of the key findings if Donald Trump goes through with implementing these tariffs at the current rate. The estimation is that tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China, proposed to go on February 4th, this is now scrapped. That's a later date, sometime in March, if no deal is reached, will shrink economic output by 0.4% and increase taxes by $1.1 trillion between 2025 and 2034. On a conventional basis, amounting to an average tax increase of about $800 more per U.S. household in 2025. There was a $80 billion tariff during the first Trump administration. This brought in 380 billion. This was in 2018, 2019. But something to mention from those tariffs was that the U.S. federal government had to bail out a lot of American farmers who were very upset and struggling because of these tariffs. These tariffs had a negative impact on not only the American economy, but specifically key demographics within the Republican caucus and voting base. Reduced long-term GDP by 0.2%, capital stock by 0.1%, and employment by 142,000. And I think the biggest fallout here would be not only consumer spending, but also capital investment because of these tariffs. These tariffs will definitely stymie trade, like we saw in a similar fashion to like Smoot-Hawley in the 30s. And the tax increase from these is a regressive tax on the American people. This is not a progressive tax on the richest in this country. It is a regressive tax on the poorest and working class in this country. And the amount of money brought in over the course of 10 years is very minimal. Over the next 10 years, it would be 1.1 trillion, which is only about 100 billion a year, which is really nothing for this negative impact. This is, at best, a very poor negotiating tactic from Donald Trump, or at worst, an attempt to siphon more wealth from the poorest in this country up to the richest, who would undoubtedly receive some sort of exemption or benefit from these tariffs. So that's an older article going over some of the impacts that these potential tariffs could have. Here is NBC News talking about the current pause for 30 days and some of the other impacts that we can see from the implementation if they occur.
Set to commence, a partial step back from the brink. President Trump saying he'll delay 25% tariffs on Mexico because Mexico's president made concessions involving the border, including sending more soldiers to patrol for drugs and migrants.
They've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever, 10,000 soldiers at their side of the border and stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country.
President Trump delaying the tariffs for 30 days while talks continue. Mexico's president today saying, I'm sure in this month we'll be able to give results. While late this afternoon, a 30-day delay on tariffs against Canada, too, after Canada's prime minister said he will also beef up border security following President Trump's tariff threat, including spending $1.3 billion reinforcing the border with 10,000 frontline personnel. President Trump posting, Canada has agreed to ensure we have a secure northern border and to finally end the deadly scourge of drugs like fentanyl that have been pouring into our country. U.S. officials say 43 pounds of fentanyl were seized on the northern border last year, a relatively small amount compared to Mexico. Meanwhile, there's still a midnight deadline for 10% tariffs on China. If tariffs are imposed, economists warn they could hit the wallets of almost every American because these are our top trading partners. From Canada, the U.S. imports 4.2 million barrels of oil a day. Tariffs could add 15 to 25 cents to a gallon of gas. And with Mexico supplying 42% of auto parts imports, you could pay $3,000 more for a new car because of tariffs. If tariffs last for several months, the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation estimates it could cost American households more than $800 this year. In Michigan, union auto worker Joseph Knowles voted for Trump and praises his tariff plans, saying they protect American businesses.
It keeps company from taking businesses out of the U.S. I believe that it's going to create more jobs. And I do believe that it's going to protect mines.
But in California, Zach Davis co-owns 6 ice cream shops. He says tariffs would raise the prices on equipment, even sprinkles.
It may mean that our business doesn't even make any money this year.
Can you eat any of that cost increase, or does it have to go to your customers?
So if the cost goes up 10 cents to put sprinkles on your ice cream cone, we cannot eat that cost. We will have to pass some of that along.
Christine is joining us now from New York. And Christine, to be clear, this is not all over.
A big part of it is with these tariffs that small businesses and just businesses in general cannot eat these costs from these rising increases. These will not protect American businesses. It will just simply be an inflationary policy that will increase prices across the board, like they said, with primarily amongst auto parts and auto manufacturing and oil. And even if the tariffs do not pass or do not go into effect next month or ever, the damage done on the international stage is quite strong. It kind of broadly connects to what Trump's main purpose is here, is to just be a wrecking ball and to destroy international relations. And the real reason is really unknown, but ultimately it's just a function of finding ways to extract capital from more parts of the economy and from the government and just keep put it in the pockets of the wealthiest. This is just another Bush term, more aggressive, more fascistic, more authoritarian, but nonetheless, this administration only serves the wealthiest in this country.